Hello, I'm David Lawrence from Grant McGregor. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of the IT Bridge. And if you will indulge us, we're going to talk about Grant McGregor and our wonderful news of being 25 years in business here in Edinburgh in Scotland and supporting customers throughout the UK.
Here we are, 25 years later, 25 years certainly for you since Grant McGregor started. So there must have been some point 25 years ago when you must have thought to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to start a business. So can you recall that? Can you say, yeah, I'm going to start a business?
That's funny. I don't, yeah, I suppose technically, 25 years ago, I decided to start a business, but I think if truth be told, it was jumping from the frying pan into the proverbial fire and seeing where I landed. I think what was clear was that I wanted to take my value set and the companies I had sort of previously worked with. I saw the good, bad, and the indifference of how they treated their customers. And as you know, the philosophy that I had and we still have at Grant McGregor is people first, IT second. And it was the humanization or the lack of humanization of technology that I saw with those previous companies. And that they were, instead of technical led, they were selling. So salespeople would come in, sell the right or wrong solution, and it was all commission based. And I felt that was wrong. And I felt that we needed to promote, support the solutions technically that we felt that was right for the customer. But to answer your question, it wasn't a business choice. It was me just by myself with about 3 or 4 clients, and then having those discussions and growing the company from that.
I certainly remember from when I started 21 years ago, back in 2004, I remember vividly day one and you saying that, look, the businesses that we support have people, and the people are the main part of these businesses, and these are the focus. So for me, starting, we sort of made it quite clear that it wasn't about supporting the business. Well, yes, we're supporting the business, but we're actually supporting the individuals within the business. And for me, that was different to what I had before. You supported the business, you didn't support the people. So there was a shift there, but I certainly seen quite quickly, certainly after a month or two, that, do you know what, it worked. It was the obvious thing to do, was to support the people and start forging these relationships, because ultimately it's the relationships that makes the business that we're in just now.
Yeah, completely. And you remember how unreliable technology was in the early days of what we did, and waking up one morning or every morning and something would go wrong, just with servers being unreliable, and we would be getting called out, or hard disks would fail and you'd have to restore. It was a very interesting time, a very kind of reactive time in IT.
And that that's quite a good point, actually, was the reliability. Was it reliable? Yeah, I mean, it was reliable. It's not reliable as it was today, and it certainly was more reliable than when we actually first started there in the sort of early to mid 90s, without really giving our ages away. But when I started, it was about, don't know if you remember, one of the first things I had to do every morning, I had a series of morning checks to do. To check the server was up, check the backup was up, and check the internet connection was up. And that was before an MSP was an MSP. So you ingrained these checks that we did every morning, and that was to be on the front foot and to allow us to tell the customer there was an issue before there was an issue, and I remember that. And as a as we've evolved and became an MSP and part of our user centric offering, that's still here. That still works. That's
Yeah, that's a good.
stuff are still being monitored, backups are still being monitored, firewalls will be monitored. Okay, all slightly different ways, not necessarily the manual ways that we had to do it, but that's still the essence of that managed service that we have.
I like that. That's a good point. I think the proactivity, even though technology was very different, as we said, unreliable. We always had a proactive service with our customers. We never had, in all the years that we've been in business, we never had a break fix contract. It wasn't phone Grant McGregor up and we'll take some time off your hours. It was a proper mature support agreement in place that we said our promise to the customer was that we would look after you and your technology. Goodness me, I remember in the early days with that philosophy, as you said, being proactive, being somewhere in the world, dialing in on a 28.8 modem, and yeah, quite early in the morning there, and checking the servers were up. The 3 or 4 customers that we had, checking the servers were up, the backups had been done, performance was okay, and then latterly, you were the first employee, and we had worked together in the past, but and then that made my life a little bit easier. Yeah, just different times, different times.
And if we went back that 25 years to day one, when you set the company up, if I said to you then, you know, this is what it's going to look like in 25 years' time, would you have imagined that, or you must have had did you have a vision maybe even 25 years ago of where you wanted it to be?
I think youngsters today might, when you hear on social media that they have these
Yeah.
grand visions and plans. I had ideals and I had values. My plan was to grow the business, uh, to be financially secure as a business, and then to start to employ people to serve our customers well. But I think the grand plan, if there was one, it came later on. It was knowing that we were doing the fundamentals correct. I think the best way I would describe it is it was a journey and not a destination. I think that probably typifies of where I was. I mean, I was energized. I was maybe too confident. I was very passionate, and most of those are still there, but very passionate about what I was doing and had the energy of a 27-year-old and really enjoyed what we were doing and then growing the business. Because we grew organically, it's like a small child. You just get accustomed to those changes as the child evolves, and so the business. I think there's been a couple of times in my career with Grant McGregor that I've never woken up going, "Oh my goodness me, all that responsibility." There's certainly been times when I kind of go, "Yeah, okay, that's a lot on my shoulders." But because you create it directly or indirectly, and there's a lot of people with other far more severe worries and stresses than I could ever have.
Totally.
I think you kind of take these things on the chin. And yes, there's been some stressful times, but you try and think positively about where you are and what you're contributing to. And as I said, it's been a journey rather than a destination, I think.
It's a journey that we've shared for so long, and sometimes I think about that the client base that we've got today, but it's the client base that we had before, the different clients from the different sectors that we've supported along the way, and gives you a real grounding because one of our values at the moment is, or not at the moment, but one of the values Grant McGregor was based on is understanding. So in the early days, I remember you knew what you knew, but we really learned as a business how to shape the model based off just listening to customers and what their requirements was. Always felt that was a big part of shaping the support agreements and the support that we give.
I think that's a good observation. I think experience, and probably it's the same for other industries, experience teaches you not all opportunities or customers are a fit for you and you're a fit for them. So that experience tells you that. In the early days, not that you're scrabbling around to work with everybody, but you get excited about those opportunities. You get excited about working with different industries, and you realize that through those experiences that that type of customer is right and a good fit for the organization. They value what you're doing and you value them. And then there's other customers that, it hasn't been a good fit. And that's not because of them or us. You realize just through business that there's a mismatch. So I think if I could rewind with all that experience that I have now, you would be, I think, in a better place earlier on. But I think all businesses go through that.
You learn and evolve
Yeah.
from these different types of conversations or different types of people and organizations that we've met along the road.
But you're right. We've never had a vertical. Grant McGregor has always stayed in its lane by looking at opportunities and the type of organization we want a partnership with. Like in 2020, but 2020 to 2026 now, we do have more customers in certain verticals, which is our strength, and we play well in that. But we still have charities, non-for-profits. We have organizations in manufacturing. We have organizations in finance. We have organizations in equity and sport bodies. So, there's a really good mix. And I think that gives the excitement and makes every day different for our people as well. When they're looking at who they're helping, supporting, guiding, and providing strategy, it's a nice blend. But also we can provide those experiences from other industries, other sectors, over to opposite industries and sectors. But also we have very close and very good experience in specific industries. That's a lovely blend, a lovely blend. And I think COVID's taught a lot of companies not to necessarily have a vertical, hospitality being one.
Yes, COVID has certainly taught us a lot of things, to be to be fair. So we've tried to stay consistent. A lot of the tools are the same, from remote access tools to a CRM. We had a service desk system for ticket login. The fundamentals have just been the same. The tools have evolved. The tools have got better, clearly, but the even quarter of a century ago, it was the same concept, the same tools, and delivering a service.
I don't think we said quarter of a century ago. That sounds a long time. Yes, it's been an evolution, I think, rather than a revolution. And it's a really interesting observation that where we had been, or where the industry had been, and where we were 10 years ago and to where we are now, definitely an evolution. Have we kept the philosophy of using the same tool set? Yes, they've evolved and we've changed those tool sets and they've got better, more effective for us and the customer. When I look back at the support that we would provide and the types of technologies we would support, you know better than I do that we would walk into an organization, have success there, we would manage their IT, and before we knew, we were looking after 4 or 5 different antiviruses. Back then, we were looking after 4 or 5 different backup solutions. We were looking at 5 types of different technologies. And, that was where Britain was suddenly back then. And what we learned, I think, quite quickly compared to our peers in Britain was that's unsustainable. We were expecting all our people to know all these different technologies and to be qualified and have experience. So we were, if not something, I think that one of the first, if not the first in Scotland to say, look, we can't sustain that. And way back in 2017, 18, we created, the people-centric model that said that we would support these technologies. And when we worked with a new customer, that we would implement our backup, our security, our technologies, and we would support their bespoke applications, etc. But it was what we did and what we did best. I mean, you wouldn't walk into I don't know, a Volvo garage, with a BMW and expect a Volvo dealership to support a BMW. Yes, there's similarities. Of course, they've got an engine, or it's an EV. Of course, it's got 4 tires, but there's differences, and they're specialized in what they do, and that's what we learned, I think, quicker. And I think that has set us well. So no longer are our people supporting lots of different contracts, lots of different. I mean, can you believe that people are still selling bronze, silver, and gold support? I mean, how do you even explain to our customer, I'm sorry, you're on the bronze package, sir or madam? So, we have one standard offering, and we've talked about that in a separate podcast. Our people user-centric model. And that gives clarity to our customers, and I think, and critically to our own people about what they're supporting and delivering and providing strategy on.
All those years ago, we still had security and antivirus, but not to the level, anywhere near the level that we have now. So, become an expert in one. If there's one bit of advice we'd probably give any upcoming MSP at the moment is become an expert in one.
You're right, that's the maturity model. I think Americans call this the curve jump. So, it's the curve, and then you have to go through that curve. You can't do anything about it. And then you move on to the next curve and you mature. And I think it's how quickly you can mature in those curves
Mhm.
is the difference from a good to a great organization. And that's not just technology companies.
You know, the year 2000, is there any common mistakes that we have in IT then that we still have now?
I think it's just the industry we're in, that technology uh, is always evolving, it's always innovating, and we're always expecting, as an industry, for the end users, the customers, to keep up to date. I was saying to somebody over Christmas, I just thought it was magical that the industry, technology invented email. You will remember email when it first came out, and we'll remember before email, and how email has definitely revolutionized communications. But I think we both would agree that it's hindered maybe some effectiveness. And the solution to all of that, a problem that was created by the industry, is now AI.
Mhm.
And AI is fixing the problems because we're too busy doing email. I just love that. I just love how, and I don't think it's necessarily just technology industry, maybe there's other industries, but it's we're using technology to fix some of the previous mistakes. And maybe if we stop using email so much, we wouldn't need AI to correct some of. But that's the world we're in. And half joking aside, those technologies have enabled productivity gains, communications. We're not reliant on 2 posts a day from the post people. The first class and the second class. Communications quicker. People have probably got better using email over the years. And AI, I think, complements some of that now. But yes, uh, it's self-inflicting, I think, some of these issues from technology companies.
Yeah, I remember the excitement of even getting an email.
Your first email address, choosing. Well, we used. Do you remember back in the day? I think our first email system was Lotus Notes.
Yeah,
Well,
back
actually,
when.
I remember Word Perfect, but that was internal email. So Word Perfect Office or something like that. Then Lotus Notes, and then Exchange.
Exchange, and now it's the cloud.
But talking about our journey from, as you said earlier, from where we were, and it was interesting. You said that our values and our ideals haven't changed a lot, which I think is really good and really grounding about Grant McGregor and our culture. And then we morphed into a managed service provider. And you know better than I do about that sort of the last 7 or 8 years, how we've now morphed into a managed service security provider, that we have, the compliances. We have ISO 9001, 27001 for the whole organization. And it isn't a spray on ISO, it's a UCAS accredited, audited. So it's, audited every year. And we have the IASME level 1 and level 2, and Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. And that has created a culture of compliancy, not just internally that we all understand and work to, but that's helped our people understand compliancy, how it relates to our customers.
Compliance is a big thing for us as an organization, but also, do you know what it does do? Um, the people that that work for our clients on our behalf um, have more of awareness. It's just by default. So the more that we work the compliance and apply the compliance internally, by default, your people pick that up. Then they pass it down to the organizations, and then when when people move on, to different organizations and different roles, and maybe take a different path in their own career, but then they can start applying that elsewhere. And that's a very powerful thing to get that compliance moving around from being in an organization that sleeps it and eats it and breathes it.
You asked me earlier about, did I, where we are now, did I think that's where we'd be 25 years ago? And actually, through the conversation, our chat, I was thinking, if I had dreamt of, or would I have thought it would be possible to be an ISO accredited, UCAS accredited 9001 and 27001 organization 15 years ago, I would have thought, wow, but probably that would be difficult and almost impossible. And it's funny when you achieve something. So we achieved it back in 23. I'm not saying I take it for granted, because I know all the work and hard work that goes into maintain that standard and that compliancy. But before that, I would, I think it was one of the few things I probably did dream about, going, oh my goodness, imagine having an organization that is, UCAS, ISO accredited, of quality and security standards. I think that's something that made me very proud, and very proud for the people that work with me. But on the same page, I don't think a lot of organizations, and probably even some of our customers, understand, and maybe that's our fault, what that actually really means, unless you go through those compliances, that gold standard. That's meant a lot to me.
Quality is one of our values, and one of the values that we've used for a long time, longer than a lot of even people within the organization.
Drilled into us as heritage.
And that's where I was getting to. It's something that we've brought to Grant McGregor. You've built the organization round a quality value, and by the end of it, you've got the quality seal of approval from UCAS. So that's got to be testament to, yourself and the way that you've led the business to ensure that, that quality service has been delivered.
I agree with all that. I think if Katerina was sitting here, she'd remind us that that's a journey as well, and that we've always got to work and improve, certainly on the quality side. But you're right, it has been ingrained, and hopefully we set that, or we instill that in all our new members of the team. And I think hopefully we lead by example on that. The quality culture, I think, eats everything else for breakfast. If you've got the right people and the right culture and the right qualities, I think those are really important.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's the foundation for a successful organization, that's for sure. But we've done 25 years. I'm pretty sure you don't want to do another 25 years. But after 25 years, I mean, what still motivates you about the organization and the industry that we're in, to just keep it going?
It's a good question, Paul. I think I have been very lucky to have create and to be helped to have created an organization that's allowed me, and I'll speak maybe a little bit selfishly here, to not always do the same job within, I guess, my own company.
Yeah, it's true.
So when it started, I was IT support. I was on the help desk. I was on the tools, as I say, and I was managing, and that evolved to different kind of job roles. And fast forward all these years, my role, there's one thing that's the same. It's still what excites me and I'm passionate about is getting the most and best, and it sounds corny, but out of other people, or to support and coach other people. You could say that's maybe because I'm lazy and I don't want to do the work. But joking aside, I think that gives me excitement, that gives me passion to get and see others around me growing. And if I can influence and be part of that, I've done my job. And then I think from a customer perspective, I still get excited, still get passionate about making sure their organization runs smoothly, that we're providing the right tool set. And as you know, in 2026, it's heavily about compliance and security. So that's, new, that's exciting. And where we are ideally positioned now to see that for the next 5-10 years as we've matured as an organization is really influence organizations in the compliance, in the security space. And we're getting good traction and have had good traction there. So not every day is the same. Some of the things are, but for the most part, I still wake up excited and invigorated. But yeah, do I want to do it for another 25 years? Goodness me, I'd hate to think about what age I would want to be. But as I said, I still feel it's a journey and not a destination. And until that changes, you're going to have to put up with me for a bit longer.
And that's I thought the same, the same question earlier, and I came straight away to, what, over all those years, there's no 2 days the same. Every day is different. You can wake up going, I'm going to do this, and then before you know it, your day's taking a complete, and that's good. That not only it keeps us on our toes, but it just, there's just a sense of achievement when you can go out to do this and then you've realized you've done something completely different. So no 2 days are the same, not sitting still. We're always moving forward, never in the same place. And that's for me. That's the bit that sort of still excites me a little bit. But the new technology, we can't get excited about new technology. Then there's no point being in an MSP or in the IT game, right?
And I think, yes, completely. What we haven't spoken about, which probably just it's good to add, is that, we're seeing our industry bend and shape in two ways. We're seeing what we do in our space being affected by mergers and acquisitions. So we're seeing companies like ours for the last 4 years being acquired and swallowed up into a larger IT company for good, bad, or indifferent. And then we're seeing on the other side telco companies that have traditionally sold low margin and high quantity of services of telecoms now in our space. It took a bit longer than actually expected. So you're seeing these two fractions, magnets pulling an influence in our decisions, and we're seeing some of our thinking around how we can compete in that space. And we felt very confident that a strategy that we put in place last year was Edinburgh first. So we brought all our people back into Edinburgh, Scotland, and into the office, so which I think is great. So we're here, we're in the city centre, we've been here for 25 years, and all our people are here. They're not down south, they're not anywhere else in the world, they're here. So our customers can experience what we've talked about for the last 20 minutes about the culture of Grant McGregor. And I think that's really important. Are we being acquired? Yeah, people have had discussions with us, but we're not interested. We want to stay independent. We want to stay as a boutique IT company here in Edinburgh, and we're delivering that quality of service. How we're finding the competition out there, it's interesting to see that we've held our position, our ground for everything that we've talked about, but we're seeing those telcos that have morphed into IT companies, low margin, low cost, high quantity. So sell more at low. And they're not delivering that quality, that value. And we're seeing, as we saw last year, a number of new customers coming to us that have experienced that. And that has been reassuring to know that, we're staying in our lane, we're paddling in our lane, and we're doing everything that we need to and believing in what we do well. And just to quote one of our customers from last year, Christopher, said, David, I realize you get what you pay for. And he had been with a UK telco that had morphed into the managed service space. And that gave us confidence that we're doing everything right. So, as you said earlier, our values are really important to us, and we have to live those values every day. And we'll carry on that success for another 25 years.
Indeed. Yeah, well, I think that's it. We can wrap it up there. But thanks ever so much for your time and for your insight in the 25 years, and here's to the next 25.
Thanks, Paul. And look, thank you for your dedication and trust and relationship for the last 25 years as well.
This has been the right fit for me. This has been the right thing. It's been the right thing to do. It was always about it's helping each other and getting the satisfaction from that. Ultimately is what we did from day one.
So thank you for joining us on the IT Bridge and indulging us to talk about Grant McGregor over the last 25 years. Hopefully if not anything, you've learned about our journey, where we had been, where we were, and where we're heading. And I think some of those insights are useful for your organization to know that what is out there, some of those technology changes, and certainly how a company like us could possibly help you.